AngelLaCiencia.
It's the mullet?
Yeah, bro. You actually look like
It's like a fat mullet.
Bro, you know those my Indian hairdresser used to have hair like yours. Where they have
like
like
Rastafarian?
no,
West
like
Indian?
fucking it's huge out the back here because he was balding up at the front. I think.
Oh, yeah,
So he
yeah,
grew
yeah,
his
yeah,
fringe
yeah.
out heaps.
Oh,
So he,
what?
he had one of those like emo fringes that weren't cool since like 2011, and he had like huge hair at the back, and you're just like, dude, I can't believe I'm letting you cut my hair right now. Yeah,
That's always the funniest thing when you go to barbers and you see that their hair's all fucked up.
yeah, dude, and
Yeah.
like you go to a new barber, like how do like everyone talks about the look you give the ones that you can't go with, you know what I mean? Like
What do you mean?
like, bro, you know when because I used to go to the one in there was one in Westfields, and the line was always out the door. You'd have to wait for like 3 hours, and there were only like 2 decent hairdressers in there.
In my barber industries.
Yeah,
Were,
yeah,
you, were you taking care not to say that?
Yeah, I was.
Just in case he listens to
but-
this.
Who gives a fuck, bro?
Just so you know, barber industries.
Yeah, bro.
He's talking about you.
But there was a guy there one time when you know when you first go for a haircut, and you don't know who you're getting, and the guy I got was completely bald,
Yeah,
but he's like 6'4" or some shit, 6'5".
The chubbier guy, yeah?
And no, he was just wide. He didn't look like he was chubby, but he looked built. And then while he was cutting my hair,
Does he wear glasses?
yeah, he does wear glasses.
Yeah, he's kind of on the chubbier side.
Is it? You reckon?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But he's huge, right?
Yeah, he's big. He's a big, tall dude.
Yeah, yeah. Like
Anyway,
a wide
yeah.
dude, but
yeah.
He's cutting my hair and like,
Yeah.
dude, he was doing a fucking horrendous job, and I can't blame him because he doesn't have any hair. You know, what I
Yeah,
mean? No
yeah.
skin in the game, like I was saying.
Yeah.
He was cutting my hair, and then he started. I was like, so you know, making conversation with your barber, you just ask like standard questions. So like, where are you from? He was like, I'm from Lebanon. And then I was like, you know, like, what made you come over here? And it was like, war. And I was like,
Oh,
what?
shit.
Oh shit, this is about to get weird, bro. And I was like, oh really? Oh, yeah, what were you doing there? It was like, I was a soldier. And
Whoa.
I was like, oh fuck. I was like, yeah, I was just fighting against drug dealers all the time. And then I was like, oh, okay.
Did he say Lebanon or Mexico?
Lebanon, bro, I swear to God. He was talking about Lebanon. He was talking about drug dealers and how they would like shoot back, and like each time he would go out with his squad, someone would die. And he was lucky to
Damn.
leave. Yeah, he was there for like 10 years or something. And he said every time you'd just be shaking in the van going out because they'd like,
Yeah,
you'd
that's
be
pretty
like,
heavy.
He was like in a SWAT team kind of thing. And he would like go in and whatnot. And he was like, yeah, I can crush a man's skull like a cockroach. And I was like,
What? He actually
whoa.
said that?
I swear he said that to me. And I was like, oh, fuck. And then the next time I went in, I didn't want a haircut from him.
He said that to you while your skull was in his
Yes,
hands.
and his hands are like that big, bro. His hands are like that big, and you know how when like they tilt your head,
Yeah.
his whole hand would clamp over my head.
Oh,
and
yeah,
like
yeah.
toy with it like that. And I was like, dude, fuck.
I could kill you if I wished.
Yeah. And then the next time I went, I didn't want a haircut from him, and I'd been waiting in line for like this other guy for an hour, and he was like, and I got straight back up and like sat in his chair. I was like, fuck, I just don't want to say no to this guy. I don't want to piss him off.
He intimidated you into
Yeah.
getting your haircut.
Straight out.
Oh, dude. But going to a haircut, I'm sure a lot of guys will attest to this. It's actually pretty nerve-wracking because there's a lot riding on it.
Oh,
You don't even realize. It's like, yeah, man, this is shit. I'm going to look like shit for like 3 weeks.
I'm going to look like a clown.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pay for it.
Yeah.
And I can't say anything about it.
Well, that's the thing. You don't even realize that it's going to be shit.
Mm.
Why is that? I mean, you can see them cutting your hair, but just like while they're in the process, you just really don't know.
Because I think it's
Like,
hope.
oh,
You
they
cling
might-
on to the hope.
Well, because they fuck around with the steps as well. No barber follows the same process. So
Yeah.
sometimes you see them, they start fucking it up.
Yeah, yeah.
And they fix it. You're like, whoa, what?
Yeah,
It looked
yeah,
like
yeah.
you fucked my hair up.
Looks mad, yeah.
And then other times you're like, oh, so he's giving me a regular fade. And then
Yeah.
you're like, oh, shit, he like faded male pattern baldness into my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like really, really strange.
But I think you can sense confidence like anything else. Like when someone knows exactly what they're doing, they're like, but sometimes they're too
No, that
confident.
doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
I think in the context of barbering, some people like they know what like they'll fucking like I know it best.
Yeah.
They're always some
you know
European.
what's a bad sign?
yeah.
When you start speaking about what you want and the guy nods.
He's like, yeah, I'm doing whatever the fuck I want.
And he's speaking completely a different language to the guy next to him the whole time.
yeah.
That's when you
And
know.
you just know he's saying, haha, this fucking idiot. I'm going to fuck up his hair. It's like, oh, what did you guys say? Oh, nothing, brother. Don't worry. We're talking about work.
Oh, bro. Okay. So,
Okay.
what were you
So
saying?
you're going to bust out the topics on me.
I'm not as prepared as I usually am this one. I was a bit.
We didn't even do an intro. Is that what you were talking about at the start? We didn't do an intro with that fucking... That
What
beat.
intro?
You know.
Oh, yeah.
AngelLaCiencia.
We'll do one of those after, bro. You know what we got to start doing? We got to start making our own raps after that fucking debacle we had.
That was so shit, bro. I don't think you want that.
Nah. Anything's better with autotune.
Yeah. Auto-tune the pain in.
Oh, man. But what was it? The last thing we were speaking about before we spun up the cameras was you were speaking about how you don't want to work with anyone that doesn't have a life outside of work.
Yeah.
And you
100%.
started with the idea that anyone who doesn't have kids.
Mm.
Why do you attribute that to having a life outside of work?
Well, if there's... Okay, I'll speak from practical experience and then I'll speak to what I think it is.
Yeah.
From practical experience, people that I've worked with that do have kids... I don't know, they just generally have a much warmer feeling to them, to the way they conduct themselves. And they are never... They know how to handle the stress of work because they know how to handle the stress of life, i.e. rearing children and,
Yeah,
you know...
definitely.
Yeah.
So it's an aspect of like it's like when you meet someone who's been through like real hardship, and they're just genuinely more relaxed
Yes.
and kinder
Yes.
because they realize, dude, this ain't shit. Like,
Yeah.
this is not a problem.
Yeah. It's humility, bro. That's what it
Exactly.
is. That's what it is. 100%. You can sense that.
And I think you're right to a certain extent about the kid stuff, because I think anyone who's geared normally wants to have kids, right?
Yeah.
To a certain extent.
I mean, that's part of experience, right? That's like
Yeah.
huge. A huge part of just society. Universally is having kids.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think what it speaks to is that they aren't equating their identity with their work. And once you start to do that, like if you think you are your work, okay, look, for sure there are people out there that have done enough to, you know, but even then, like people like Einstein and, you know, they had lives outside of work.
Yeah. There are definitely exceptions to the rule.
Yeah.
Don't you think that the general trend is like, if you don't dedicate your life to your job,
Yeah.
you're not ever going to get to a point where you're going to be in a position to make the calls, to make the real...
Of course. You do have to work hard and dedicate yourself, but there's always a balance, right?
Yeah. I think almost in effect...
You don't do it, and I think a lot of people, you know, you're not doing it just for you, right? Yeah, all the greatest entrepreneurs, scientific minds, they had lives outside of work. Like they weren't just focusing on researching 24 hours a day. They did build something outside of that. You know what I mean? Even Steve Jobs was married and had a daughter and stuff, right? Like,
but being married and having a daughter or having a family doesn't necessarily mean you have a life outside of
you're
work.
successful at it. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
I feel like there's a trade-off, definitely. I see some of the people who, I believe... See, I think this is something that's not well defined at work. I think work-life balance, from my perspective, means you're a good human, right? Just a good human in general.
Yeah.
Which, honestly... I think gets skewed out of proportion. It's not really a length of time inside or outside of work from my perspective. It's rather that you can function as a person in society that adds value not only through your work, but also as a
member of your community, member of your family.
Exactly.
I agree.
And I don't see that playing out on a wide scale. It's not incentivized. I don't think it's incentivized at work.
Why would it be?
Exactly. Don't make money.
Why would it be? Because
Don't make money.
It's not tangible. You aren't necessarily going to see more sales numbers from someone that's spending less hours at work because they spend more time with their family. However, I bet that the people that they work with are much, much happier to come to work, and therefore all the people around them are producing way more because they get to interact with this person who's a good, well-rounded, humble, person with love in their life, rather than someone that just comes into work every day just so they can be the best at their job and that's it. They don't have anything else.
Yeah.
And because there's no tangible translation of that, I think we're at a stage now, thankfully, that a lot of companies do recognize how important it is for, in the long run for people to be productive. You got to have a balance. But I don't know. Leadership is a whole nother story. Leadership is like we were talking about, like what is rewarded at the workplace? What behaviors are rewarded?
I think that almost de-incentivizes people like us, like, because you don't have anyone to look up to, because you don't see anyone having a thriving social life and a thriving career. You kind of attribute the two things together, right? You're like, it might be a correlation, not causation thing, but you start to think, I feel bad for people that are in higher positions than I am. So why would I want to be like that? I feel like I'm slaving away at something that I honestly don't want to achieve. Yeah. When I get to that position, am I going to be happy? It's very hard to tell, because the people I speak to at work who are in higher positions, I honestly feel bad for. I think they're boring as fuck. And like, there's nothing that they have that I want except maybe a larger salary. Yeah. And that's really not that much of an incentive. Yeah. Like, fuck, well, what do you gain? Like, you're going to be higher up at a company that doesn't give a shit about you.
Bigger house. Those type of things, right?
Yeah.
You, I don't know, dude. I think some of these things will reveal themselves to us in a different light as we get older. Yeah. As our priorities shift. I mean, we're young right now. We don't want to work, right?
Yeah, that definitely
we have other things that we want to do. We have other things that we can do because we're not, tied down because of X, Y, Z. But then I get your point as to what are we looking up to then? Where are we going?
I keep waiting for that moment for everything to click and change. Maybe it might not be a moment, but I know gradually I've changed as a person, and the things that I used to value, obviously I don't value anymore. Yep. And as I get older, a lot of people do say this. I think a couple of people at work have said this to me, is like, okay, your 20s are for a time to start establishing your career and growing roots into it and really finding what you're passionate about in certain areas. Yeah. And then by the time you're 30, you should be really developing those skills to the next level. And that honestly scares me. That commentary scares me because, as you well know, I'm not necessarily passionate about what I do. Yeah. But then I'm like, okay, well, what is that level of passion? Like, there's obviously a certain level of interest I have in this role because I'm here. I've tried to get here. Now that I'm here, I might not necessarily be as happy as my expectations may have exceeded what I expected, what I actually have, my reality. But it doesn't necessarily mean that I have no interest in this field. Like, is that enough for me to build a career out of? Or should I be pivoting right now? Those are the questions I really start asking. Do you have those like moments as well?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think it's out of the ordinary, man. I think everyone, or not everyone, but a lot of people at this age, and I sometimes look, you know, when I'm on LinkedIn and I look at some of the older people that I work with, and I look at where did you start? What were you doing when you were my age?
Yeah.
And often it's completely different than what they're doing right now.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And maybe it's not completely like back to front, like, oh, they were working as a truckie and now they're a doctor type thing.
Yeah.
But it's often a very different field to what they're doing now.
Yeah, definitely.
The CRO at my company has been everywhere. Like, she started as a lawyer, and then she was working in big law firms. Then she moved to doing like work as a lawyer for the government, and then she like sacked all of that and became like a consultant at a small consulting firm. Then she started her own consulting firm. And none of these are in the field that I work in, by the way. And then, you know, a few years down the track, she somehow got involved in this field. And now she's CRO of this company. So, I didn't even know what to read from that. But it was like, she's been everywhere. Like, yes, it's somewhat related to what she started in, but like, it's not what she was doing when she was 20.
Yeah.
And I think we're in that position where we're like, fuck, is this what I'm going to be doing my whole life? But I don't think it is. I think, like, you know, there'll be other shit to come up, dude.
I think what it is, I think it's old people telling younger people, as generations go, as like, you know, like your parents do as well. They want you to take shortcuts to where they thought they could have gotten. Yeah. They're almost telling you in a way, it's from a good place where they want to tell you,
this is some shit I wish I knew when I was your age.
Exactly.
Do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think, as is always the case, you can never tell your kid what to do.
Yeah.
You've got to let them live their life.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with us. You know, everyone has their own journey. Everyone has their own path.
Yeah.
We might be able to listen to advice, but necessarily you don't know what's the right thing for you unless you live it. You know,
yeah, exactly. Exactly. You have to make your own choices, your own mistakes.
Yeah, exactly.
100%, bro. 100%.
I 100%.
That's the hardest thing to accept. I even now, like, if I try and put myself in my parents' shoes and I saw me doing something that I thought was bad, or effectively I knew that was a bad thing to do, because that's when I was, that age, that's what I thought. Or when I got 10 years older than that age, I'm like, fuck, I should have done this then. And then I saw my own flesh and blood, my kid doing the exact same thing. I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah. So I get it, dude. It must be frustrating. It must be frustrating as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you look at yourself and you think back, oh shit, I could have done this, I could have done that, I could have done this. And you know what I was thinking the other day? There's that cliche where it's like, oh, people always say they get to a point in their career or their life or whatever, and people are interviewing them and they go, an actor who broke out when they were like 45. They're would you do anything differently? And they're like, no, because, what I did made me who I am today.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, I've always thought that was the biggest, gayest cliche.
Yeah.
You know what I think the flip to that cliche would be?
Yeah.
It would be, you know what? I don't regret anything that I did because I think, honestly, I'm in the best position that I could ever been in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You making those mistakes you might not have thought that is a good thing, or even in hindsight, it's not a good thing. But honestly, like looking back, you can look at it a way where you're in the best position you could ever have been in.
Yeah. By
doing everything that you did, like everything turned out the best way it could.
Yeah.
And I think it does. I think it really does.
Yeah.
And I think that eases some of that anxiety. It's like
100%.
You're not making mistakes.
You need to recognize that though. I think until you recognize that in yourself, and I think it just, what the larger thing it speaks to is that everything happens for a reason, right? I think once you begin accepting, that, I do as well, man. I do as well.
Yeah.
But I know there was a period where I did it, and things weren't going as well for me. Not in the material sense, but up here. Up here, I wasn't as content, or I wasn't as at peace, because I kept thinking like, fuck. And by doing that, I was fighting against what I was doing. I wasn't just allowing it to happen. I was like, fuck, am I doing the right thing? And I wasn't really doing anything. You know what I mean? I wasn't actually changing what I was doing wrong or anything like that. I was just doing something and then like mentally doing backflips to be like, fuck, should I have done this? And I wasn't just accepting that. But I agree. It is, and to your point, it is a cliche, but I think it's right.
Yeah.
I think it's there. It's like
right.
timeless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just try and have the perspective now that there is so little that you know about the wider, you know, like what is actually happening outside of me.
100%, bro. We're students of life, bro.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much shit happening that I just don't understand. And a lot of it I'll never understand. I can only really understand like a very small amount about. And I think when I was younger, I'm young, but like younger than I was now, I thought there would be a point where everything would start, like you said, it would just click into place. And I would just start understanding everything.
Yeah.
But the only thing that I understand now is that the more I try and search for those answers, the less that I have. And the less that I try and, you know, actively search or whatever, the more I just see what I need to see actually appear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And over the last, we might get a little deep here now. I don't know if we're too early into it for it, but I think like over like the last, especially like the last, definite, like 6 to 8 months, I think like it's really reinforced, you know, my belief in a higher power, whether that's God or whatever. You know, I think the more I started looking for it, the more I started to see it independently of that. And the less I started like thinking that I could find answers, the more peaceful I felt that answers were being revealed to me in the course that I needed them to be revealed to me in. That I didn't need to dictate that sort of, oh, I need to know this. Like I need to understand why everything's happening the way it's happening. It was less of that and more of just take a chill pill and just let all these things that you have no control over unfold the way they should. And don't try and have expectations about what you think should be the way.
Yeah.
And this is mostly, you know, I think, applicable to, of course, concerns of like your family, your friends, your loved ones, health, all of that, but also to like you look around the world sometimes, you're like, what the fuck's going on? How are we not spinning out of orbit type thing? Questions like that would often make me very anxious. But now I think I'm more able to grapple with them.
Yeah, I think we have our own rhythm. I think all of us have our own rhythm of like living life. And it's easy. I realize it's very easy to judge other people, but
it is.
And then that judgment really is not a good thing for you personally.
No.
Because you have your own rhythm. They have their own rhythm. Like some people take their pace with certain things and you don't. Like you know, this impatience we feel, I definitely think it's an age thing, man. There are things that definitely come with age.
It's the arrogance of youth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's also like, I think it's this, what I'm realizing as we get a bit older is like, dude, there are huge, when I was younger, honestly, you get to a point where you're like 18, 19 and you're at the top of your ecosystem in high school, or you're at the top of your ecosystem and you think you know everything about the world. You know jack shit. Yeah. And then you get out of that and you realize it's starting all over again.
Yeah.
You thought it would end with your education, but no, really, it starts again, and then you have to fucking you get annoyed at people at the top of the rung again, and I think that's something. That age discrepancy between people at work. I think that's what we feel. That animosity.
100%. They're like the year 12s that you come into year 7 and you're like, man, why would these guys talk to me or respect me? You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm an adult. And you're like, oh, I'm in high school now. You know what I mean? But except now you're like, I'm an adult.
Yeah.
And like you work out, I think, as you get older, a little bit of the issues. Like they're not going to push you over or call you names.
Yeah.
But they'll just do it in more insidious ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
The same archetypes and like the same frameworks exist. It's just on a bigger scale. And I think people are just a little bit friendlier.
Yeah. It's that like little fish, but in a huge pond again. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's not that different.
Pond
though.
gets bigger and bigger. Yeah,
that's
it's
it.
not that different.
Yeah.
No, it's exactly the same thing. You know,
At its core, yeah.
You don't want to get bullied. You don't want to get pushed around, but you know, to a certain extent, it's out of your will. It's out of your power.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, right? I think as you get older, the problems stay the same, but your ability to grapple with them becomes better. Like if I was a kid and someone was like, say for example, I'm being mistreated at work and someone was mistreating me at work, I might get bent out of shape. You know, you go to your folks, you be mean to that person back, or like, you know, you do stuff that's childish. But I think as you get older, you start just recognizing how you operate more, and you figure out better ways to deal with things for yourself, so that you don't, you know, to a certain degree, you become more unflappable. Like people can't get to you as well as they used to be.
Exactly.
But some people never learn that as well. Some people never learn that. Some people get to 45 and they're still, you know, the maturity of 18-year-old. Maybe not intelligence, but at their heart, at the level of like their ego and the way that if someone says some shit to them, they're like, oh,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, they'll get bent out of shape about it.
I wonder what that is, because like some people just can't seem to, you know, I think growth is your acceptance of the fact that you're, you know, imperfect, obviously, certain areas. And I think the biggest growth comes from accepting that you're insecure around a certain topic and you address that.
Yeah.
That's when you really see growth, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And I think some people just sweep it under the rug. They just never address that insecurity, or they don't get the feedback loop from what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, some people have low EQ, and EQ, why is it important? I think people don't address why it's important. Or some people have good EQ. This is why that works. Those people with good EQ, they're not fucking just smarter than everyone else. They're putting
the time in.
They're putting the time in, and they're putting the that they have the ability to pick up on feedback, and it's not just the ability to pick up on feedback, but they'll do something with it. You know? They'll start changing their behavior.
Yes.
If someone's pissed off, I need to understand why they're pissed off. Maybe it's something I did. If it is something that I did, then I need to understand what it is and then deal with it. Yeah. So it doesn't happen again.
That's it.
That's what EQ is from my perspective. Otherwise, dude, what's the, you know, you being able to have a good conversation with someone else in the long run does not make you a good.
That makes you a good conversationalist.
Person. Exactly.
Doesn't make you good or self-aware or smart person.
Your branding, the one time you fuck someone else over and you do it again the second time, that's when I'm going to stop talking to you. That's when I'm going to stop helping you at work. That's when people around you are going to start disappearing. And if you don't realize that, then, you know, that doesn't matter how good of a conversationalist you are or how charming you are. Like, you're a fucking douchebag. You're a dirtbag. You know, that's the end of the story. And I think that isn't incentivized in organizations. You know what I mean?
I think, you know, for the most part, I think one of the reasons that it's not is because my belief is that most people do have good EQ. Most people they interact with, they'll know if they've been an asshole. Most people, I think, generally speaking, are good. They will try and understand what you're doing and why you do things and why they do things, and if you're upset, they'll try and understand what made you upset and they'll try and fix it. But it's the people that don't, right? It's the people that don't that make it 10 times harder to deal with everything else. Yeah.
And those people, I think about it, and the only reason you would ever do that is because you think that you're better than that person, that you're doing it.
Well, that's it, right? And it goes back to what you said about judging. Because once you judge someone, right, it automatically puts a separation between you and them.
It means you've got nothing to learn from them.
It means that, I've put you in this box now, and that's all you are. You're nothing else than what I've just put you. And then what are you saying by doing that? That means I'm in a different box to you, right? If I say, Rob, you know, you're inconsiderate. What does that mean? That means I'm considerate compared to you. If I'm calling you inconsiderate, well, then that means that I'm not actually looking at myself hard enough to say that, oh shit, I'm probably inconsiderate as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And
it somehow builds you up in a certain aspect.
It builds you up in like the most weakest, make you feel good now way ever.
Yeah.
It's like sugar for your brain.
It's in a way where it's also where you don't see it happening. You judging other people, you don't realize what you're doing is trying to build yourself up unconsciously.
Yeah.
And when you realize,
when
that gets put in perspective, everything shuts down.
Yeah.
That's when it crumbles, you know? That facade you had of yourself. You're like, oh, fuck. I've always said other people are inconsiderate, so I must be considerate.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to a certain point, and someone close to you goes, that's really inconsiderate.
And you're like,
yeah, you do that
what?
double take.
Yeah. You can't say that shit. How fucking dare you? What about 4 years ago when I dropped you off to the station? You piece of shit. Fuck you. Yeah.
It's so true, bro.
I don't know. Maybe it's part and parcel of getting older, right? Getting to times where you have to put that shit aside in order to just get stuff done. And then as you do that, you slowly learn like, oh, fuck. There's all these things which I don't address because it makes me feel bad about myself. But then you realize that it's only making me feel bad about myself because I'm not what I think I am.
Yeah.
I think that I'm better than all these. But then you realize, I think as soon as you accept that you're not and you forgive yourself for that, that's where it all begins. You know what I mean? Until you can do that, you'll just keep doing backflips. And that's what I definitely did for a long, long time. Like I would just make up stories about myself to myself to be like, oh, dude, you're a good dude. Don't worry, you did this, this. But then once I just stopped caring about that label, and whenever I thought that, I would just say, like, don't think about that. So what can you do that's good? You know what I mean? Doesn't matter if you're a good dude or if other people think you're a good dude. What can you do that's good? Yeah. You know what I mean? What can you do for yourself? How can you help your family? How can you contribute to your friends?
Yeah.
So that's where I think that's where I'm at now. You know what I mean?
And you've been less active on like social media these days, right?
100%.
Yeah. And I feel like that comes into play with what you just said, like, because social media is just you signaling to others, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like if you want to be a good person or you want to do good things or you want to do cool things and you want to really like explore your passions, why do you need to tell anyone else? Right? Like if you really are trying to do a good deed, it shouldn't matter who's watching.
That's it, bro. I think that's the big thing that we'll come to realize in the next,
Yeah.
That'll be the next big thing. They'll be like all this shit that we peddle. It's okay. Some of it is worthwhile. It's a double-edged sword. You know what I mean? A lot of it is worthwhile, like sharing knowledge and sharing ideas and coming together.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is just shit. It's just you. On a personal level, I think a lot of people just, and not a lot of. I'm not sorry. Okay. Not even a lot of people, myself included. You only put the good shit on social media, right? You don't put any of the bad shit.
Yeah, definitely.
Who do you talk to the bad shit about? Your friends, your family. But then for some reason in your mind, it gets elevated. Like somehow my online presence is, and what people think I'm doing all the time. Like, oh, dude, look, he's traveling and he's going there and he's been here, he's done that and he's eating this.
And we get feedback.
Somehow, like trumps.
Bro,
it's the feedback, yeah.
And we get feedback from, the rest of the world, not just in likes and all that stuff, but you actually get monetarily compensated for that stuff now.
Now, you do. You do.
That's the crazy part, and that makes it even more important for people to do this.
People making a living out of that. That is their life.
Not even just a decent living. It's a fucking huge amount of money that's being poured into that. Yeah.
Millionaires.
And it doesn't. I think that would really. It's going to fucking produce and propagate this terrible mindset that and I think we have been trapped in that previously,
Definitely, bro. Definitely. I'll tell you what, I went back on, I would spend hours, right? Literal hours. I would look it through my phone, the time tracker. And I'll look at the hours that I was spending, like 3.5 hours today on Instagram. I'm just like, what? Of the 17 hours that I was awake, 3.5 of that was just doing this. Nice. No, I'm sending this to the boys.
Yeah.
They'll like it. Oh, that means I know that they like that I'm sending them stuff.
Yeah,
it is a feedback loop.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I would do that, and then I took a break. I took like a 3-month break off IG. I was on Facebook, a little bit here and there. But when I went back on IG, especially IG, because IG is, I think, like it's like crack. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely.
If I think YouTube's like weed. You know what I mean? Like it'll relax you, and if you do it in the right circumstance, all right, you watch a little bit of YouTube here and there, it can be helpful. Yeah. And probably like WhatsApp is like alcohol. You know what I mean? Like,
what's acid? Tumblr?
I don't know what acid would be, but look. WhatsApp is
stuff you've never seen before.
No, but I'm saying WhatsApp is like alcohol, because although it's probably bad that we're checking our phone for messages every fucking 5 minutes, it's seen as a necessity. Like I need to keep in touch with at least my friends. And like if they try to ban WhatsApp, people will go crazy, right? Just like if they try to ban alcohol, people will go crazy. Anyway, but IG is like crack, right? Because it's just straight to your veins. You know what I mean? Just let me just fucking watch like 400 videos, 400. It's just constant, just bang, bang, bang. Same with TikTok.
Yeah.
Same with TikTok. It's like crack.
It's concentrated.
Because constant dopamine, just bang, bang. More videos. They're 6 seconds long. I don't need to put any thought or effort into actually digesting this content. My brain doesn't have to be used at all. It just has to look.
Yeah.
How often do you actually crack up laughing at something that's on Instagram?
Yeah.
Like so rare. You'll get like at most a chuckle.
Yeah.
Because it's not hitting that deep, bro.
Nah.
It's not. It's like crack. Like it'll make you feel good for a bit, and then you're like, fuck, what do I do now? I better have some more crack. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You keep chasing that high.
Anyway, when I went off and I went back on, and it was tough. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say it was as bad as like a relapse sign, but there was definitely times like a month and a half. I'm like, man, I wish I could go back on IG and just look at funny videos, watch ball highlights, see what everyone's up to.
Yeah. Wait,
But I was
pause there for a second.
All right.
Sorry, bro.
You're right. And it is, bro. It's like,
Yeah, but that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Like, man, this is the stuff that I realize is really lasting, and kind of like the dopamine hit is way longer. It's like when you work out and you get that afterburn or whatever the fuck they're talking about. Bro.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh fuck.
So that straight chemical endorphins rushing
Connecting
through it.
with someone like on a genuine basis.
Yeah.
And I feel like I feel like that's happening less and less with
Yeah.
everything going on.
It is.
Because you have friendships. Now I'm realizing I have all these friendships where it was really just send a meme. Haha.
Yeah.
We're good friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And tell you the truth, bro, as soon as I got off it, and there was like maybe 4 or 5 people that I would only speak to just on Instagram. And you exposed that. It was like, man, there was nothing underneath the memes. You know what I mean?
It was a meme ship.
Yeah, it was a meme ship. It was weird, bro. It was like a throwaway friendship.
Yeah, bro. It's kind of sad at the same time, but it's not
is
sad
sad.
because you don't even know who it is. Like, if you think
yeah.
back to it, you're just like, only if you go back on Instagram do you realize, these people were the people I used to chat to. Oh,
Exactly,
fuck,
bro.
I don't even know them anymore.
Exactly. The shit that's got like real substance and weight behind it isn't built like that. You know what I mean? Like you said, it's genuine. But yeah, when I went back on, I realized like how transparent it is as a platform. Like 80% of it is just porn. Like it's just porn dressed up in ways that it's not. It can be accepted that it's not porn. That you can put on a website that anyone can go on Instagram, right? Any like 10-year-old can go on Instagram and start looking at titties and ass and stuff, and no one gives a shit, right? But there's heaps of it on there, right? Look at all the thought bots and shit that are on there, right? And 99% of it is just fake. Like it's nothing valuable, dude. You know what I did do? I put a lot of the, not a lot, but like some of the time that I spent on Instagram, I started putting to YouTube. YouTube is such a good platform, dude.
Oh, bro, so good.
YouTube is like
So
weed,
good.
bro. It's
Yeah.
just, it's, You know what I mean?
There's
YouTube is
real
good, bro.
content on
There's
there.
some really, really
People
good,
are
well
thinking
thought out.
about what they put on there. Yeah.
Exactly. They're thinking about it. They're crafting it.
It's got a use case. It's
Yeah.
genuinely there for them to solve problems.
It takes time to... Dude, some of the stuff that I see on there, like tutorials for shit. I was looking at a tutorial today. I don't know. It was something. It's something to do with removing like the lambs restriction from your bike, right? And I was going through it. I'm like, man. And the guy was so detailed. So like, oh, watch out for this when you do this because this screw gets stuck in here. Like he had thought about every little thing. And I'm like, you could never ever get like this guy's put time, attention, and he's doing it for fucking free. Like his video wasn't monetized or anything. He just put this out there because he knows that people out there might go through the same thing as him.
Yeah.
And there's something really, really beautiful about that, I think.
Yeah.
Really, really selfless. Like you don't care about it. You're putting the effort in just so someone out there will have a better a better experience because you've gone through it and helped them with it. You know what I mean? And I think that's the flip side to it all. You know, there's actually real people out there, and there's stuff that I've watched definitely over like this period where I've been like, fuck, it stuck with me. It's valuable. You know what I mean? And there's definitely a lot of shit on YouTube as well. You know what I mean? There's a lot of weird side of YouTube where it's like fucking like, I don't even know, like videos where like people's heads and shit are morphing out. You know what I mean? Like there's weird shit on there as well. I'm not saying that, but
there's like
so
compilations of people like motorbikes getting hit by cars.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's some fucked up shit.
You know
on
what I
there,
mean?
no
And
doubt.
we're supposed to laugh at this.
Yeah,
They've
like
got
animals
buffs
getting
in it,
hit on roads, on highways.
Dude. Yeah. Some people kind of fucked.
Yeah. But anyway, like I said, like I would encourage everyone to quit IG. It's just not. I mean, even if you're like having if you can somehow like control it to like 10 minutes a day or 10 minutes every couple of days, and like you're very conscious of the time you spend on it, I think it's fine. Honestly, I think a lot of people like that as well. Yeah, they are very conscious, but I know there must be millions of people out there that were consuming it the way that I consumed it.
Yeah.
Which was just mindless, and it was just turning my brain to mush.
Yeah,
you know
that's
what I mean?
where they get their money from. That's what the platform is supposed to do. It's supposed to induce that kind of behavior. And I'm off IG as well. Yeah. I got off Snapchat as well. Yeah. Because I realized I was just funneling different avenues. I still haven't gotten rid of Facebook because Facebook, it has some utilitarian stuff. Yeah, Messenger, and then there's also like groups and events. Yeah. So that's been really hard to get off. Yeah.
That's how they keep you on. Honestly, I think if they didn't have those three, if there was some other social network
and
that
Marketplace,
you could, and Marketplace. Facebook would be long dead because I don't know anyone that uses it for. You remember when Facebook first came out and it was so you could write on your mate's wall, like
it was the best. It was like the next level Bebo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, completely, bro. Like, bro, I still have like that old configuration on there where it used to be funny to send like your mate, your like father. Like,
he's like, oh, father, and he's like, this is my mate. My brother's like, bro, you're my
he's
bro,
actually
man.
the same age as me, but he's my granddad.
And like, you have like that one mate, you're like, oh, you're my daughter now, bro. You're my son. Yeah. I mean, back in the day, actually, I was going through it because I don't know if some people have been deleting it, but I kept getting notifications like, oh, you can be the admin of this group now. So I was looking through all my old groups on Facebook where like I would get together with my mates and like play like COD online and stuff like that. And there's still those groups were around. And like before WhatsApp groups existed, you know 100%, what I mean?
Bro. Used to be hectic, bro.
Yeah. But now, now exclusively Messenger, Marketplace. You know, there's some of the shit posting groups that I go into. They're kind of funny. Yeah. But yeah, like photos. I haven't put a photo on Facebook in so long, bro.
I find it so weird when people put photos up on Facebook. Yeah. I know that they're just like, dude, you guys are kind of losers. You know that, right? Like, no one does that anymore. Yeah, like, bro, did you get the memo?
Facebook?
You sure? You sure? And then
you from fucking 2014, bro? You from 2012? What are you doing, bro?
And like more and more people, like I'm just looking through it, and whenever I see someone who's resharing a post, I'm like, oh, that's
cuz, come on.
Yeah. But it's funny, but I'm not gonna like it.
Yeah. It's got like 6 likes. Yeah. Peasant. No, but that's the thing. No one likes things anymore either. Yeah, like you'll see a video here and there.
It's almost like I'm too good to like this, bro.
Yeah, I'm not gonna like. Yeah.
It's just a weird concept now, like all that stuff.
It's funny, you go on people's Facebook profiles and their last photo uploaded will be like 2016 or some shit.
Yeah.
No one puts shit up on there anymore.
Yeah, hundo.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
It's really hard to, it's really hard to gauge someone with Facebook now.
Yeah. I mean, you don't need, Facebook's smart as fuck, right? Because they bought WhatsApp. And WhatsApp has replaced a lot of the functions that you used to use Facebook for. Like sharing photos, right? Like you'll have your group chat and you'll just share your photos with your mates. Like I don't need all my friends seeing that.
Yeah, hard.
Yeah.
That stuff's interesting, man, because like, yeah, as part of, I started getting off IG, I started getting off social media, and as I got that ball rolling, I realized, wait, I've got a lot of these fixtures in my life that I'm using as like a dopamine hit.
Yeah.
Without actually doing the work. And I'm realizing, by doing that, I'm bypassing all that feedback system I'm supposed to do, where I'm supposed to do the hard work and get these dopamine hits.
Yeah.
What if I just fucking cleanse all of this shit out?
Yeah.
So I stopped watching porn.
Yeah.
I stopped masturbating.
Yeah.
I stopped all my social media.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to tone down like coke usage, drinking, all that stuff as well.
Yeah.
And bro, it's kind of early to tell because it's only been like 2 months, 2 and a bit months.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm already in that mindset where I'm like, oh man, like when I see my mates doing this stuff or my missus doing some stuff that like I honestly like think is not productive, I'm like, dude, you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
What you're doing is like, it's not productive. Like I try to explain to my missus, babe, maybe like, take a break from Instagram. I can see you scrolling. You're in that scroll mode. Yeah. Why don't we like, you had all these other things that you needed to do. Why don't you do those? Yeah. I'll help you. What do you need me to do? And she would be like, nah, but like, how am I going to talk to my friends? And like, fair enough. Yeah. Cause she's like far away from her friends. But from my perspective, it's like, those aren't friends worth having if you're not going to talk without that.
Yeah. I get you, man. I get you. And I honestly, I did something similar. Like I did cut out porn and jerking it for like 3 months. And I've still cut out porn. I started jerking it again, but no porn. Like I said, I cut out Instagram. Very, very sparse usage of Snapchat and Facebook. Like I said, Facebook just for Messenger and Marketplace. But 100%, I think the one thing that I definitely realized, like concrete evidence, is that it's a distraction. I'm not 100% sure of the brain chemistry side of it, because definitely there was periods where I felt, just general mood fluctuate irrespective, right? And I don't know. I think I'll need more time with nothing and more time doing it to find like a good balance of what I think is at a healthy level. Yeah. And I think I'm finding that now. I'm striking that a bit more now. Like I restarted using Instagram, but I don't have that craving anymore to be like, fuck, let me go through it all at the same time. Let me sprint. Like it's just like I go on, oh yeah, it's all right, and then I just flick it off.
The biggest burn is like when you scroll so far, it goes, you're all up to date now. And you're like,
fuck, I've never got there.
Oh, really? I've gotten there a couple times.
Really?
Like, yeah.
Wow.
I've been so stuck in the loop sometimes. It's like, you're all up to date now.
Fuck.
From the last time I looked at it.
Wow.
They have that. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Right, I get so cut. I'm like, fuck.
What am I going to do now? But I'm with you, bro. Okay, so going back to what I said about distractions. Yeah. Yes, it isn't productive. But I think on a more like subtle level, it's distracting you from I definitely had an issue with not addressing issues in my life, not addressing problems and just skirting around them or pretending they didn't exist. And once I cut that out, it became very, very hard to do that because I didn't have something I could turn to. Like if I was feeling down, like I didn't have like I couldn't jerk off, watch porn and suddenly my day was better. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. I think this shit and, it's the same thing as like fucking smoking weed or, fucking at a more extreme level, like doing heroin or crack or whatever it might be or drinking to escape your situation. It's the same thing. Like if I'm scrolling IG as soon as I finish work, that's all I'm doing. I'm just IG, Netflix, sleep. It's the same thing as not addressing, you know, like, fuck, am I healthy? Am I fit? Is my mental state in a good place? Have I addressed issues with my relationships? Have I addressed issues with myself that I want to work on? You know what I mean? And am I putting the time that I have to good use? Like, am I using the time that I have to pursue things that will make my life better in the long run rather than the short run? And the more you get caught up, the more things that we have that can potentially distract us from that, the harder it becomes to break out of the cycle. It almost feels impossible. Because I know my mindset at the start of this year, before I did any of this shit, was very, very different. Very, very different. Very, very different about what I believed I could do, like what my mind was even capable of. If, like, I'll put it into a practical example instead of setting all woo and wishy-washy with it. I didn't think I could read more than like 4 or 5 pages at a time because of the way that my mind works. I've always been like this, but I think it was exacerbated by a lot because I was always spending my time scrolling and just always getting something new in my mind. I couldn't read more than like 5 pages at a time without having to stop. And I can do that now with much more ease because I stopped myself doing this and I actually focused on like, hey, just do this instead. Put that time somewhere else. And ultimately the effect of that was that I was reading more about stuff that could potentially help me. And then I was able to believe, because I was putting that time in, that I could actually, improve myself. Yeah, put it into practice. And then it happened. And then I was like, wait, what? I didn't even think that was possible. You know what I mean? I just, like, I wasn't in control like that. And
it is definitely the control thing.
yeah, you don't even realize how often other forces are trying to take your attention away from what you must be doing or what you need to be doing. And you are a product of that at the end of the day. You are a product of what you put in to your mind. And if you're just putting in bullshit, not to say it's all bullshit, like, okay, I'm not like, you know, throwing the whole thing, but a lot of it is not meaningful. Like, there's always going to be another fucking meme or another highlight or another whatever it might be, Batuta fucking news article. They're still hilarious, by the way. Like, those guys do great work.
Yeah.
You know
their quality doesn't drop off.
Exactly.
How does that happen?
They're amazing.
Yeah.
They're good, man. And that isn't to say what they're doing is less meaningful. It's that you need to recognize how much responsibility you have. Well, I needed to recognize how much responsibility I had over what goes into my mind. Yeah. Because that is always going to be a product of what I am able to do.
I think it comes with, it's the standard give and take, bro. Like, you reading other people's Instagrams or, you know, articles or whatever, you're realizing someone else's dream.
Exactly.
And that time can be spent realizing your own.
100%.
And that's something that you need to start realizing earlier than later.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think we're pretty lucky, bro.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't think a lot of people are at that stage right now.
No way.
Thinking about these things.
Yeah. I mean, I see it, you know, I'm just using my wider friend circle as
example.
The sample size, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I think a lot of people are intuitively aware of this, that they can't just fucking, you know, it's not groundbreaking stuff that we're saying.
No, it's not. No.
But it's that there are also, that being said, at the same time, there are plenty of people whose potential isn't being realized because so much of what they do and so much of how their mind operates is at the bottom of the phone screen. And I was definitely there. When I look around, I can recognize it more. Like, people that, like, will be hanging out. Not to say, okay, maybe I'm not guilty of this extent, but you'll be hanging out and like 5-10 minutes in, there'll be a down at the bottom of their phone, like that. And and they won't be present to where they are, and you're just thinking like, fuck. It starts making me feel edgy because I'm like, man, I remember when I was like that and I just needed this, and I felt edgy all the time because I didn't have, if I wasn't looking at something and I wasn't being stimulated 24/7, then I wasn't, in my mind, I felt somehow in a fucked up way that I wasn't being fulfilled. Because you crave fulfillment as a human. And if you just subvert all of that to this, you're never going to do what you want to do. But then there's also people that it comes naturally to them. They can do this and they can fucking go out and do whatever they want. And, you know, from the outside at least, they seem like they've got their head screwed on. But you always wonder, right? Like, you always wonder, like, man, are you really all there? How are you actually operating? That's what I think. But I know for me definitely, and from the sounds of what you're saying as well, for you, it's not enough, right? You do this and you look through this shit and like you're glued to your screen and it's like wasting your mind away and you can feel it, right? And that's why we desire to stop, because we know at some level that it's not right. And you just wonder, when are other people going to become aware of that?
Yeah.
I spoke to you a couple of weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago now, about you remember that guy Johnny Kim, the guy that's he's an astronaut, SEAL, and he's a doctor. Right at the end, I think, like, of that podcast, Jocko asked him like, "Oh, do you have social media?" And the whole time this guy was speaking, I didn't get an inkling of, you know, ego or like, fuck, I'm the man, I've done all of this. Not once. Yeah. And you know what he says right at the end? Yeah. He goes on, like, Jocko asked him for his Instagram and he's like, I think Instagram is cancer to society. I think having an ego and being narcissistic is cancer to society. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm like, if this guy that is literally done everything, he's at the top of the fucking food chain. You know what I mean? There's fucking, you can bullshit all you want about being like fucking billionaire CEOs, all this shit. Yes, they're rich, but this guy, in terms of what a human being can achieve as their potential, right? He's at the top of it. You know what I mean? And that's his main message at the end. Get the fuck off Instagram. Get the fuck off. You know what I mean? You should fucking listen to that. Listen to that. Because we don't need more fucking CEOs or business guys or whatever, fucking IG entrepreneurs. Yeah. We need more fucking doctors and astronauts, people that are going to fucking save this planet, right? And this guy's main message at the end is, they ask him for his Instagram and he goes for a 10-minute long spiel about no one should have Instagram because Instagram is fucking cancer to society, because narcissism is cancer to society. It is, yeah. I thought that was crazy because I listened to the whole thing. It's like a 4-hour long thing, right? And I listened to the whole thing like, fuck, this guy's like, you know, not once does he remove himself from who he is. Not once does he say, I'm this. I'm Johnny Kim, the astronaut, the Navy SEAL, the doctor. All he ever talks about is what he did and how he got through it. Yeah. And how he was feeling at that time. He was a human.
About it like achievements. He talks about it like honors that were bestowed on him as experiences.
Exactly. And bro, that guy's a role model. You know what I mean?
And he's not in a position to be a role model.
Exactly.
Which is crazy.
That's fucked up, man.
Yeah. It's totally inverse. The people that you should be looking up to are nowhere to be seen. The people you shouldn't be looking up to are everywhere.
How did that happen, right? Or maybe it was always like that, right? Yeah. You wonder that. Maybe it was always like that, and now, for the first time in history, we have more access to that.
Definitely, bro.
We have more access to seeing what's really going on at the core. You know how that Ellen show shit came out, how she's like a fucking witch. Yeah. And like she treats everyone like shit, and everyone at a show that works there hates it. Yeah. Right? She came out and did her apology or whatever, right? Yeah. And just, it's the fakest thing you've ever seen, right? Like she's joking around like, haha, oh, I had a rough summer, did you guys? Like she didn't take it with the gravity of the situation or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like she was completely tone deaf to that. But two, it's just like, man, if there is one good thing about social media, it's like the fucking evil people that are pretending to be good. It's much easier now to see through that because you get unparalleled access now to the lives of people that you're meant to look up to, right?
Their time does come.
Yeah.
Their time always comes.
Yeah, people that you look up to, right? And a lot of these people, you see that they're paper, you know what I mean? There's nothing underneath that signifies that, or there's nothing underneath that they demonstrate that shows that they're a human being with good values and, you know, the things that you want out of, the things that you look up to, or the things that you want out of yourself, right, to be a good person. Celebrities and shit. A lot of the time they're just people, and a lot of the time the ones that want that fame and shit, like, they're actually fucking terrible people. Yeah. And you wonder, was it always like that? Was it always the good guys are hiding, right? The good guys, they don't care about the fame. They don't care about being out there. It's up to you to go out and fucking find them.
Yeah.
And then the people that do want the shit and promote themselves like crazy and their shit's the biggest, they're fucking ruthless. They're not good people. You know what I mean? They're only in it for themselves.
Man,
they don't give a fuck about anyone else.
I think those are exceptions that we have, but you know, in the end, who's a good person, who's a bad person, I think that's also subjective, bro. I think it's something that you have to figure out for yourself.
Yep.
And over time, you understand what's good for you and what's bad for you.
Yeah.
And you start to surround the people that you think, you surround yourself with people that you think will be beneficial to you, and that's the journey we're on. Like,
but is there an objective good?
I think there's an objective good for people that are similar to you. Like you and I, if you told me someone was a bad person and don't hang out with them, I would take that with very like that would have high gravity with me because of your credibility in terms of like who you are and how similar you are to myself.
Sure.
But the person that you think is bad, they've got their own friends. They've got their own social group.
And
those guys think they're great, and they think certain other people, maybe even us, are bad people.
Okay, I admit that there is a bit of like, you know, of course there'll be tribalism and like you'll have your own clique and you'll have your own, but is there universal good? What do you define as universal good? What do you define as traits that every human should have?
I honestly think that love cannot be expressed in a bad way. I think if you genuinely love the people around you, there's no way that comes out in a bad way. It may be misinterpreted briefly, but if you show that over a consistent amount of time, there's no way that can be misinterpreted, you know? And I think that will come out. And that's something that I think I've come to realize, and that I think it works in both ways. You can't really blow off anyone after the first time you meet them. You can't blow off anyone even after the few times you meet them. But if you genuinely get to know someone and they have nothing but love for you, then you have to love them back. Despite race, gender, sex, belief systems, whatever. I think that's what a good person is. If they choose to love the people that they're here to serve, you know, that's it. I think then I don't give a fuck what you do or how you do it. Yeah. I'm happy you're around. Yeah. So, you know.
So do you think love comes with an innate care about the well-being of those outside your group? What if I love all my friends, but then someone threatens my friends, right? Well, I don't want those people to exist any longer around me.
Yeah.
But in doing that, I'll be destroying another group who loves each other. Or do you think love in that respect will never, pure love will never, is that what you're saying? It'll never conflict.
Yeah, I don't think love can contradict in any way. Yeah. I think you can love the people around you, and you can, if that love is reciprocated. Yeah. And you know, you try to show love to someone else, but that isn't reciprocated, then you don't need to, I think, you know, you're loving yourself and the people around you by not providing to that person or not serving that person. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that's different. I think you can love and protect. Yeah. And love and destroy are not the same thing.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. You're right. You're right.
I think we'll close it off there, bro.
All right.